Welcome into this beautiful Monday morning edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. I'm Mike Renner. He's Kyle Long. Today we're going through preseason overreactions. Week 2 of the preseason in the books. He who must not be named, a quarterback for the Chicago Bears, may be talked about on today's episode. Some questions from you guys, our mailbag segment at the end. But first off the ball, a couple of trade newses. It's a big preseason for player trades here. Eagles back at it again. They traded for John Metchie, former second-round pick of the Houston Texans. Obviously battled leukemia early on in his career, never quite caught on. Looks like he's behind their newly minted second and third rounders, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins on the depth chart. So he gets moved to Philadelphia for Harrison-Bryant, backup tight end there. And then the Jaguars traded their backup center, now Luke Fortner, another sort of mid-round pick, third rounder that never quite worked out, to the Saints for Preseason-Saunders, defensive tackle. Formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs.
This, I'm reading up from the article on CBS Sports that producer Harry, who's just so brilliant. So this is an article by Zachary Perelis. So he was like, the swab came hours after the team tied their preseason game 17-17. I just there's no weirder feeling than a tie. But imagine there's a tie, and then you get to the locker room, and they're like, we're trading you for a guy on that team. No weirder feeling. But this is the ultimate, preseason type move. We see this in baseball. Guys switch pants with the guy on the other, team. Like, yeah, we get, you got to get rid of those red cleats, though. We don't wear red cleats over here. Pretty cool. Preseason-Saunders, great dude. A juice guy, somebody that's like a glue guy for sure in the locker room. And little known fact about him, his brother is one of the featured dancers on Taylor Swift's tour. And
that is a little known fact because
he is what a beast of an athlete he is. I mean, the guy dances for 4 hours. And let me tell you, you look at him and you're like, that's Preseason-Saunders' brother. That's a defensive tackle up there, and he dances for 4 hours. It's unbelievable. And then you know what? The John Metchie to the Eagles for Harrison-Bryant is. Look, I mean, Metchie's not a nobody. This is a guy that gets catches. This is a guy that has experience playing in the National Football League, and the Eagles are like, hey, the more the merrier. Depth is great. And they've got the reason that we love the Eagles so much is that they've compiled depth. They've drafted the right way. They've developed talent. And Howie Roseman's got the eye for guys who he thinks are valuable for him. And this is just another one of those moves that may seem insignificant right now, but who knows? Metchie may be a guy with a couple big third down conversions for this offense this year.
Yeah, I do think the way the Eagles go about improving not only their starting unit, but their backups. They actively go out and look for better backups every single year. They did it when they traded for Jahan Dotson last year, and they're doing it now when they're trading for John Metchie. They are not settling with any point of their roster. Always admirable. The one that's interesting to me here, though, is the Jags trade, because they're not exactly flush with offensive linemen, shall we say. To be moving on from a fourth, third rounder, and let's be real, Luke Fortner was not working out. When he started there, it was not good. I understand why they moved on from him. But maybe it says a little bit about how they feel about some of the new additions there.
Yes.
Robert Hainsey, obviously, they signed this offseason. Jonah Monheim was their seventh rounder, a center out of USC. Wyatt Milam was their third rounder out of West Virginia to be a guard, potentially center for them. So maybe they like the depth they had there, but never a good sign when a team needs offensive linemen and they're like, hey, yeah, we're willing to trade you.
Well, like you said, they like somebody in that room, and they obviously really like their tackles. They drafted Milam. I think that any number of those guys, whether it's a guard or a center, could be the answer to a lot of the issues there. It's interesting you said that. And I think that if you look at the center position in recent history, it's become such a cornerstone and such a strength for teams. Some teams are willing to maybe move their guard in there. So it remains to be seen what the Jags' long-term plan is.
All right. Those are your first off the ball trade news. We're going to get to some preseason reactions right after this.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, preseason overreactions, week 2 in the books. First one here, and this I'll let you handle this one mainly, but I have to start with this. So joint practices are important, and teams should try to win them. And what I first thought of when I thought of this one was this tweet from Elliot Short Parks. I don't know if you've seen it. I put it up here on the show. Maybe we'll put it on the screen. He tweeted out, he's a beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles. He tweeted out, Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts take their career record to 9-2 in joint practices with the 2-day session of the Cleveland Browns starting tomorrow. And he tweets out their record every single year in joint practices, how they've gone. Was this a thing? Did you care about winning joint practices back in the day, Kyle?
I'll tell you what you cared about when you got back to that offensive line meeting room. I remember, being in Denver, and we went and did a joint practice against the Broncos. I remember there's no better feeling than getting back to that offensive line room, getting ready to review the tape from your practice that day. And nobody's seen it, but the coaches have graded it. Some guys have probably looked at it on the iPad, and you're like, we kicked their ass today. Regardless of how many interceptions your guy threw, regardless of, whether your own defense got gashed, nobody knows it like the players, and it is important. So, the question is, joint practices are important and teams should try to win them. It depends on what your definition of win is. You go and take a look at Ben Johnson in the first preseason game with plenty of opportunities to convert or get himself in field goal range. No, he wanted to score a touchdown. And so did the other team. And that's the important part about the preseason. You're trying to win, and you're trying to win with explosion. When I look at the Eagles' record, for example, in joint practices, it's an indication to me that they just won the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And that shit is important. You can throw all the, Shedeur Sanders threw 3 interceptions today in practice. Throw that all out the window. These guys are trying to make tight window throws. A lot of this stuff is scripted. You'd be lying to yourself if you said the defense didn't know what's coming. But the stuff that they can't control is getting their asses whipped at the line of scrimmage. And if you can win that, that's a win big time for your team moving forward.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that, because at this time of the year specifically, the players being where they're supposed to be is kind of like the issue, right? Like no one's up to speed in that regard and completely knowing all your assignment, that sort of thing. But an offensive lineman going mano a mano in the trenches is the same as it ever was, right? It doesn't change. A lot of what they're doing, they're up to speed already. Yeah, you'll have blown assignments here and there, but it's like that's what wins at this point in time. But teams should try to win. You should try to compete no matter what it is. That's in preseason games. Yeah, they're not like explicitly attempting to win via play calling and other things, but you're not just going out there and saying like, hey, none of this matters. Like it's still a competition. You're still competing regardless. Now, some of the winning is like winning your spot on a roster for some of these guys. Maybe that's more important, but you're playing to the competitive nature in everything you do on a football field, in any sporting event, honestly. So,
and
yeah,
it's important. There's I remember a time we went to Indianapolis, did a joint practice, and we blew the defensive lineman off the ball down in, down out. But when we got back to the O-line room, it wasn't a good feeling because the issue was we stayed on the double teams too long. And this guy by the name of Jarrell Freeman, who's a linebacker for the Colts, made 1 million tackles. And a lot of them were tackles for loss. Untouched second-level defenders drives offensive line coaches insane. It ruins game plans. So that's an example of details are just important as winning the line of scrimmage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So whatever it is that your team deems to be important and deems to be a win. For Caleb Williams, it's getting rid of the football. For, the Niners, it's staying healthy through the preseason. Wins are different for everybody, but when you're playing against somebody else, you're trying to kick their ass.
All right, next one. Overreaction or reality? Jaxson Dart will be the starter in New York by week 6. He went 14-16, 137 yards, and 1 touchdown over the weekend.
Look, Russell Wilson still possesses the X-Men ability to throw the football into a bucket 40 yards down the field. I mean, the downtown Julie Brown is in full effect when Russell Wilson's in the game. And I think that if you're a fan of football and you're a fan of explosive offenses, you should be standing on the table for Russell Wilson. For all the stuff we have said about Russell throughout the course of his career, you cannot deny the fact that he is as good of a deep ball thrower as there is in the National Football League. And if you go Jaxson Dart, you're going to be getting a different brand of football. While it may literally be flashier in terms of what he's wearing and the way he behaves, Russell Wilson gives a guy like Malik Neighbors the best opportunity to go do what he does best. And I think until we see a guy like Jaxson Dart go and do that, and he'll have more opportunities this preseason, Russell Wilson's your guy.
Yeah, I think this is no reaction. I'll to start with Dart, I've been impressed. Like, he's looked good through 2 games of preseason. Now, that's couched by saying pretty much all they did this past weekend was quick game and screens. His average depth of target was 4.1 yards down the football field. It was simple stuff. It was basically like, the criticisms we had from the Ole Miss offense to NFL translating right away was not this, right? This ability was always there at Ole Miss. So it's adding more to his plate. That is the issue. And that, is going to be what gets in his way of ultimately overtaking Russell Wilson early on in the season. I am still of the opinion, and now until I see more from Dart in that regard, I'm still of the opinion that Dart is the last ditch effort here. The season's going south. Joe Shane, Brian Dable are like, hey,
let's have some fun.
We're basically like, hey, if we go 6-11, we're not here. We don't have jobs anymore. The only way we potentially have jobs is if Jaxson Dart comes in, looks good, wins a few games, and we can get to, momentum to the end of the year, the momentum developing a guy that then John Mara's like, I don't want to move on from this staff because of what they've done with Jaxson Dart. He's kind of your get out of jail free card to a degree.
Look what God did.
Yes. So that's
Dude,
how
I had a feeling about this Jaxson Dart guy, and you were there on the mountaintop. Actually, we were in the bottoms of America. We were in the Bayou region, and we were picking Super Bowl teams and who the Super Bowl winners for the next 8 years or whatever it was. And I didn't pick a team for like 4 years from now, but I just said whichever team Jaxson Dart's on. I saw him swing a golf club at Top Golf on the internet one time. If you haven't been on the internet, it's a great place. And I saw him swing, and I said, that is a champion. That's a champion right there.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think it's overreaction to say he comes in early this season. All right, next one. Dylan Gabriel.
This one's weird.
Who got the start for the Browns. Lost his addition to be the starter over the weekend.
It's a team game, Mike. First and foremost. And also, like, in my opinion, he never was a starter. So this isn't a starter audition. This is the audition to be the guy that comes in when the older gentleman, has one of those bruises that don't go away on his legs or something, Joe Flacco. Look, Gabriel has shown that he can operate an offense efficiently. He can get the football out. He plays on time. But, as you're going to cover, this is a team game, and I can promise you the people in the building evaluating Dylan Gabriel are well aware of that. And the only question mark I have is, like, what are the entertainer versus competitor thing is strange. I don't know.
Let's talk about that.
What is he talking about, Mike?
The question was about,
which was left out of every Twitter clip.
Dude,
it was just the answer.
It was such a 2025 story. It was one of the most 2025 media stories you'll ever get, because it wasn't a story. It was Dylan Gabriel being Dylan Gabriel, who's a very free-flowing. If you've seen any interview with him, I saw an interview with him coming out of Oregon where I was like, this guy's high as balls. No, that's just Dylan Gabriel. He's just going to tell you what he thinks.
Yeah.
And so his comparison was entertainers versus competitors, entertainers being the media.
Yep.
And it's hilarious that him criticizing the media for trying to make stories then makes a story out of his quote about it. Like, it was really a perfect encapsulation.
So I tweeted when I saw the video, I tweeted out essentially, the ironic thing about Dylan Gabriel saying this and posing as a competitor is that it's pretty entertaining, and I did the Keanu thinking meme, and some guy replied, he was like, FFS, like, this isn't about Shedeur Sanders. Like, you have to understand. I'm like, is the Shedeur Sanders comment in the room with us right now? And then I got blocked. This is, like you said, this is the most 2025 thing ever. And, if you're a guy like me who makes a living on, goading people and trolling sometimes on the internet, it's a prime opportunity to hop in there and see what kind of fodder I can withstand.
The Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders is like prime trolling, because there's the emotions on both sides are completely over the top for what's happening.
It's politics. It feels like a presidential election.
Here's the real story. The real story is both Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, for where they got drafted, looked very good in their preseason debuts. You are happy as heck if you're a Browns fan, considering that this was a late third-round draft pick. Late third-round draft picks don't start. Shedeur Sanders was a fifth-round draft pick. Again, fifth-round draft picks don't start as rookies. They both look good. Now, Dylan Gabriel had a pick six and a fumble in this game. The pick six was because his tight end literally didn't go for the football. Two guys ended up in the same spot. Tight end thought he was going to the wide receiver behind him. He pulls his hands back from where the ball was going to be, and it ends up being a pick six. Out on Dylan Gabriel. The fumble was a miscommunication between the running back and the quarterback. I think it was Pierre Strong. I don't even think Pierre Strong went for the football. So that one was the fumble. Those were the two bad plays. It was a good debut. His incompletions in that game were like a screen, a drop, and then a wide receiver not sitting down where he needed to be, and a pass breakup that was a well put pass. It was a good debut, just like Shedeur Sanders had a good debut. So if you're the Browns and you're like, hey, we kind of threw the kitchen sink at this quarterback position, knowing that there really wasn't a guy who we thought was a franchise quarterback in this class after Cam Ward, or else you would have drafted him where you drafted Mason Graham. You're kind of happy as hell that these guys look like they can at least play in the NFL, given what we've seen from them early on. All right, next one here. Tyler Loop will pick up where Justin Tucker left off. Now, I have to say this was producer Harry's, and when I read this, I thought, Harry, this could have gone a lot of different ways here. You probably should clarify exactly where we want him to leave off. But I'm going to take it as on the field. And I don't think it's an overreaction, because here's the thing. Justin Tucker wasn't that good last year. Justin Tucker went 22 of 30. He missed 2 extra points. Now, where Justin Tucker has been special and is undoubtedly the best in NFL history is from inside of 40. He went 217 for 220 inside of 40 in his career. He kind of lost the juice from deep last year. Loop's got a leg this preseason. He has makes from 29, 36, 42, 51, 52, and 53. He has misses wide left from 46 and 50. I mean, I think he can do what Justin Tucker did last year. If Justin Tucker really had lost the goods, I think he's at least that, but it will be that under 40 success that's so difficult. But under 40 is getting less and less important because teams go for that range more and more, Ravens being definitely one of them.
Why it's reasonable. Justin Tucker just wasn't great at the end. He wasn't even good at the end. I think Loop will be more of a predictable asset for John Harbaugh. And also, to your point, with the style of offense that the Ravens are going to be running and a lot of these teams now, fourth down is not a special teams come off the sideline down. So, it will come down to whether or not he is able to hit those long distance mortar shots. But, Justin Tucker being out, fresh air being in, I think it'll be a good thing for the Baltimore Ravens. Look, the tough part is going to be just that, though. You're stepping into Justin Tucker's shoes. Like, you're literally going to have the same locker as the most accurate kicker that ever was. It's like him and Harrison Butker. Those are big shoes to step into. And let's just hope that more often than not, they're like, offense, go back out there.
Yes. All right.
Henry, give the ball to Henry again.
Yeah, there may not be a lot of fourth downs with this offense. May not even be a lot of third downs. This is going to be a good offense this year. All right. Next one, Ashton Jeanty, Raiders rookie running back, will set the rookie rushing record. It is 1,808 yards set by Eric Dickerson. That's single season. I don't foresee anyone setting the rookie single game rushing record because that's also the NFL.
How many yards was it? How many yards was it, Mike?
296. Adrian Peterson against the Chargers in a crazy game. That was also Antonio Cromartie set the longest kick return touchdown in that same game, 109 yards. It was a nuts game. He fumbled though in that game. Adrian Peterson did. So maybe not the best rush performance ever given, but this is an overreaction.
Yeah.
Ashton Jeanty. Why I say it, it's not because he's not talented enough. It's not because I don't think this running game won't be good. And it's not because they won't be committed to it. It's because they're going to be down in a lot of games. Unfortunately, this defense, this secondary specifically, is going to give up a lot of points. That's why I'm excited to see them, because they have the horses to pass. But when you're down 2 scores and it's the third quarter, you're not going to be feeding Ashton Jeanty. You feed Ashton Jeanty when it's a tie ball game in the third quarter. You feed Ashton Jeanty when you're up by a score or 2 in the third quarter.
I think
don't see that being the case.
I fully anticipate Chip Kelly using Ashton Jeanty the entirety of the game and just wearing these defenses down. I've been part of these offenses before where sometimes it feels like you're hitting your head on the door, and the next thing you know, there's a gash and you get the explosive run, and Jeanty's down the sideline for 60 yards. And those 4 to 5 runs that got no hay, they're kind of washed away. Look, he's not going to set the rookie rushing record. 296 single game is absurd. Adrian Peterson, not a human being. I remember watching him when I was a wee lad, and it was just like, I've never seen a human being do this. Jeanty's going to be as solid as solid can get. And Chip Kelly's going to use the weapons he has at his disposal. And those other weapons are going to make Ashton Jeanty even more dangerous. And you alluded to the passing game. We love Geno Smith here at Pushing the Pile. It's going to be as fun an offense as there is to watch. And they got Myers, who's got the stick him on his hands. And it's a fun offense to watch. They've got a lot of the prototypical players. We like Colton Miller. The interior offensive line's been shuffled a little bit, but they've got some badasses in there. They're going to control the line of scrimmage, man, and give the ball to Jeanty. I feel like even if you're losing with this team, you can still feel confident giving Jeanty the football.
Yeah. I did love that. Even though it was preseason, Jeanty was like sticking his helmet.
What are we doing?
It's like, woof, guys, you can't turn it off. Some guys can't turn it off. That's how they're built. And you almost would rather have that at the running back position now.
Abdul Carter. Did we talk about the chip? We didn't talk about the chip.
Carter.
Abdul Carter
he's in regular season form on Twitter too.
Unbelievable.
Already chirping about it.
We have another superstar on Twitter.
Oh, amazing. All right, last one here. The Bears, after Caleb Williams rolls down the field, very first drive of the preseason, scores a touchdown, are back. They're back.
You know why I'll say the Bears are back? Because on that opening drive, what yard line did they start on, Michael? They started on the 6-yard line. Okay. You want to know why they started on the 6-yard line in a game where there's so many ways to get down the field without even doing anything? They started on the 6-yard line because of indecision and special teams. I forget who the returner was. The ball bounced outside of the end zone. It bounced into the end zone. He ran loop-de-loop around the football, got it off the hop, and then decided to take it out. So in that regard, the Bears are back. There's some real cluelessness there at play on the opening kickoff. Okay, on the opening kickoff, Mike. Okay. But now the good stuff. Caleb Williams got the ball out on time. Ben Johnson gave him an easy drive starter where he cut the field in half. He gave the offensive line an opportunity to tee off on the first play. It was a fake 39 naked right. And he hit Colston Loveland, streaming across the line of scrimmage. That's a confidence builder, not only for the quarterback, which in the moment I was like, oh, that's a great way to start the drive. And you get your rookie tight end involved. What a great way to do that. But then I thought even deeper about it. And I said that offensive line got to tee off. And I always thought it was really hard to get into game mode, and the only way you can get in game mode is go hit somebody or be hit. I'd rather a coach set me up to go hit somebody with low stakes because you can shoot your shot in that fake run, naked boot. You can shoot your shot on the defensive lineman, and even if you miss with your haymaker, your quarterback's out the back door unscathed. So kudos to Ben Johnson for that. Kudos to all these receivers for being on their P's and Q's. Even when Tyson Bagent was in the game, coming back to the football, making big plays on the ball, not allowing the defenders to get in there. I thought the offensive line in the opening drive, albeit against not necessarily world beaters, the dishes were clean. And even if Caleb were to sit back there and pump it a couple times, he would have been okay. Braxton Jones held up at left tackle. There's still question marks over there, but a ton of guys got a lot of reps. I thought Newman, I believe, was in there at left guard to start the game for the Bears, and he did a really good job. I like the game that Newman plays, and I think the Bears are in a good spot offensively, man. Luther Burden looked really good. We've covered him throughout the draft process. I'm interested to hear what you think. I'm not overreacting about anything. You haven't stopped me yet, so I think all this stuff is true. I'm not saying, look, the tweet below me, for those of you who are going to see the screen grab, every year since I got drafted in 2013, I have alluded to the Bears being a Super Bowl contender every single year. Even when we went 3-13, my staff got fired. All my friends were sent home except for me. It's maybe those guys should have put out a Super Bowl tweet, and they would have been on the roster.
I'll give you this. I'll say this. When I watched the tape after the first few dropbacks, I had like a pit in my stomach because when Caleb Williams is doing that,
he's good.
It's like, dude, what do you do? I mean, with his arm talent, it looks with the aestheticism of his release, beautiful. How much the ball just zips out of his hand. When he hits that drop back foot and releases it, it's beautiful. It really is. It's always like, damn, if this is what it looks like, this is scary. That's scary.
Cole Kmet, 30-yard explosive. But you know what? They hit two explosives in a row on that opening drive. And here's my issue. I'll take you back to my opening comments. The kick return, the special teams put you in the shadow of your own goalpost. If this is a regular season, if there are real pass rushers, if there are real glass eaters at defensive tackle, that's the scariest place to be in the National Football League. And that's your opening drive. You have to set yourself up better because even after those two explosive plays, they were still an enemy. They were still in friendly territory. They were in the minus 35. So figure that shit out because it ain't always going to be a walk in the park for your offense.
But they had Luther Burden blocking more in preseason than he ever did at Missouri. There's a lot to like about this offense. And if that's what's going to look like, yeah. I struggle to say back, though. Maybe arrived because the offense really never was there to begin with. So
wow.
What year do we point to go that they're back to?
2013 Chicago Bears.
Okay, fair. That was their.
Our offense was venomous.
Brandon Marshall,
couldn't play D.
Jeffrey, Matt Forte,
Martellus.
I think they gave up over 200 yards a game on the ground that year, though.
That might have been the case.
All right, Bears have arrived. We're gonna take a quick break. After that, get to you guys' mailbag questions coming up next.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All three Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure.
Just try to keep up.
Every face-off.
This ends now.
And every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been?
My entire life!
It's showtime!
All three Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, mailbag questions. We got a bunch to get to. First one comes from Mateo Feo on Twitter. He says, how much were you / linemen in general expected to eat during the season? Did you have staff checking your calorie intake and all that noise?
Mateo, thank you for the question. I'll start with the end of your question. Yes, we had a staff for every imaginable thing that you'd be putting into your body that would produce some sort of value for their team. So, I mean, they're tracking calories. They're tracking every weight that you lift, every rep that you do in the weight room, every, strider that you run on the field, there's somebody filming you from somewhere, whether it's the third floor of the observation deck or there's a guy in the trees in full camouflage. You are being watched at all times. In terms of eating, I mean, they have the best stuff available for you. And if you want to eat like shit, they also have that. They have the best version of that in the NFL's cafeterias, most of them at least. Hallis Hall was exceptional. It still is. But yeah, you eat together, you eat a lot, and then when you leave the building, you go meet up with those same guys and you go eat somewhere else and maybe drink some beers.
I was going to say, I'm expected to eat a dozen wings every Saturday and Sunday. That's my expectation during the season. And it works. All right, next up, Sobek42 on X says, what mid to late round pick would you be least surprised to see become a rookie of the year contender? So I did back some research here. We have not had a mid-round rookie of the year since 2017. That was when Kareem Hunt and Alvin Kamara tied. Both mid-round rookies. So that was the last time. It's only been first-rounders since 2018. 2018 is the last time we had a non-first-rounder win rookie of the year. That was Shaq Leonard. So it's been very biased towards the top of the draft guys, or maybe the NFL is just good at this. I think the obvious answer would be someone like Caleb Johnson, in that he has a great path to the field. He's a good fit for that offense. They might run a bunch, so he just might put up numbers. My dark horse, though, on the offense side of the ball, Pat Bryant, Illinois wide receiver, got drafted by the Denver Broncos in the 3rd round. I harken back to when Marcus Colston was a rookie in Sean Payton's offense, put up over 1,000 yards in 14 games. It's not like Marcus Colston's a world beater, but similar skill types. Colston a little bit bigger, but like possession receivers, great hands, great catch radius, great body control, really the type of game that can build rapport with a quarterback early on. So it wouldn't surprise me with really only Courtland Sutton, Evan Ingram, your other receiving options, if he puts up some numbers early on. Defensive side of the ball, I'm going to go Upton Stout because he's the 3rd round rookie from Western Kentucky on San Francisco 49ers. Because one, I think he's starting in the slot. When your GM John Lynch compared him to Rondé Barber, that's wildly high praise considering who John Lynch played with him. But just watching his tape at Western Kentucky, the guy is a animal around the line of scrimmage. He will make a ton of plays in the running game. Not a pure cover guy, but when you're making plays on ball carriers, when you have a lot of tackles, those things will show up. If he pops into a few picks, I could see Upton Stout easily being in the rookie of the year contention. But the thing is, like, this class specifically, we say first rounders are only one. It feels like it's Abdul Carter, and it feels like it's, T-Mac, Ashton Genty, Matthew Golden, right? It's like the guys who are number ones already in their offenses have a very quick inroad to these awards, I'll say.
What's your mid-round cutoff? Is it like 3rd to 5th?
Yeah, I think third, fourth to me is mid-round. Just if you look at draft track records of success rate, after the 4th round is just 5th round might as well be 6th round, might as well be 7th round. But like 4th round, you still get a fairly consistent rate of guys becoming starters. Maybe not elite players, but after that, I think 5th through 7th, I call late round, 3rd, 4th, mid-round. 2nd.
So I'm back to the Bears offense. Kyle Manung guy, Brock Vereen was talking about him the other day. This guy's going to be featured in the offense. I don't know if it's going to be rookie of the year, but he'll be one of these guys where, he was a 7th rounder, the 233rd overall pick. So, any of these guys can really hop into the right situation and hit the ground running.
Corey Krosky-Barrett. They might be trading Brian Robinson. Apparently he's on the trade block as it speaks, as we stand. All right, next one comes from Dave K1876 on X. Why do receivers need to get both feet down in the end zone, but the ball just needs to break the plane for a runner? Surely, if a thrown ball is caught in the end zone, the plane has been broken. So there's 2 different things at play here, 2 aspects that need to happen. You need to obviously break the possession, or break the plane of the goal line. But you also have to establish possession. So to establish possession, you need the ball on 2 feet. And then, so that's possession. And then you have to have possession in the end zone to score. Now, I don't get why when you catch the ball in the end zone and you are airborne, but you get pushed out back in front of the end zone and land, that's still technically a touchdown. Because
You're talking about catching it in the air in the end zone and getting pushed to the 1 yard line.
You get pushed to the 1 yard line. That's where your feet land. So you don't establish possession until you hit the 1 yard line. They give those guys, and now maybe it's called forward progress. Maybe that's why.
I
But
can't wait
that
to
is
just
considered a
slam
touchdown.
dunk this whole argument. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
That's considered a touchdown. When you haven't actually established possession yet, and that if you were pushed forward and then one of your feet landed out of bounds, it would not be a touchdown. I don't know. I just think that's part of it.
A touchdown. Your feet have to touch down in the end zone. Okay.
No, but they
Right?
don't. I'm saying that's considered a touchdown.
No, I think that it should be called a touchdown, and the only way you could do it is if your 2 feet touch. Obviously, if you're running the football and you break the plane with the ball, that's a touchdown. But like, the only way that you should be able to score a touchdown is if you land your rocket ship in the little rectangle that they have drawn back there. It's Navy in Chicago now, and 2 feet have touchdown, and that's a touchdown.
That would be an interesting rule change that you literally have to get 2 feet in the end zone, not the ball, but 2 feet plus ball.
Like even runners.
Yes, I think that'd be an interesting wrinkle.
Yeah, but then so now, work with me here. You're on the left sideline. Okay, I'm running down the left sideline. I have to bend in around a defender, and now there's another guy coming. I go back to the pylon. My feet are in, and the ball's out.
Then the ball's out where you were out.
But what if I was never out? I was in the end zone with my feet.
But the ball went out. So the ball's out with the ball's out. I don't know. I think it's
guess
fine the way the
have to
NFL
have
has
a
it.
video.
I think we're fine the way the NFL has it, but that one always struck me as not quite making sense.
Yeah, like imagine if you caught the ball
But it's two different things.
in the
So that's the
air
question,
above the end zone, and like those were touchdowns. We'd have all these high point plays, and like maybe like
yeah, exactly. And then
jump
you would just get
that like launching, using the goalpost as something to pull up on to catch a high ball.
I do think the rule change to remember how they used to have the force out rule. That was
That to me.
So you used to not have to get 2 feet down. You couldn't force a guy out of bounds in the air. So if the thought was that you would have come down in bounds had you not gotten forced out, this is the Nathan Poole play. The Arizona Cardinals, week 17 against the Minnesota Vikings, kicked them out of the playoffs because he got 1 foot in. Guy pushed him in the air. The ref ruled it's a touchdown because of nowadays it would not have been called a touchdown.
Yep.
So I think
that's where I'm at. I'm in today's world.
All right, enough rule talk. Let's get back to some ball here. Do you think having one side of this one comes from the Coulter 2 on Twitter, the Coulter 2? Do you think having one side of the ball being terrible inflates how good the other side of the ball is perceived by the mass? Example, the Bengals last year, really good offense, but most people think it was elite because the passing yard totals were the opposite side of that, being 21 through 24 Jets, who obviously had a great defense. But that was buoyed maybe by the fact that everyone knew that they didn't have to score that many points because the offense for the Jets couldn't.
Are you saying like when the weather is so shitty in Michigan all year that people rave about the summertime in Michigan only because it's such a shitty
I will not
days?
pay any summertime.
You get 65 days.
Amazing.
You get 65 days of not having to touch your thermostat, and you're like, this is the best place on earth. I see where you're coming from here, Cutler, too. And it's funny, we were talking earlier about the 2013 Bears, and I always go back to that because our offense was like, people didn't have answers for our offense. But our defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. Mm-hmm. And I think as I look back historically, I might inflate our offense a little bit because of how bad our defense was. As it pertains to the Bengals, some offenses, some quarterbacks, some receivers, they would not be able to win as many games as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, like despite their defense. Mm-hmm. That's special. So, I mean, I think they're not inflated, but I understand where you're coming from. And I'll go back to the Michigan analogy.
There's two sides of the coin here. If you're really, really bad, but then you're also a bad team, so like you're also a team that's not winning a lot of games, yeah, then I think it gets inflated. Because when you're down like 2 scores and there's 3 minutes left or whatever, the stats you're putting up are really easy, right? They're all, you're getting prevent coverage, whatever. Yeah, they know you're passing, but like they're giving up a lot of the stuff just because they don't want to give up massive plays. So there's that. And yes, that does inflate. That was the Drew Brees argument, right? When mid 20 teens, Drew Brees is putting up insane stats. They're winning like 6-7 games. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the MVP category conversation because a lot of that, he probably had 1,000 yards in the second half of the fourth quarter when guys like, guys who were on better football teams, guys like Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, they were out of the game already. They were putting up all their stats through 3 quarters. So yes, there is some of that. But then there's also when you really are in a bad defense and you're winning games still, when you have a bad defense and you still win games. Yeah, you're going to have to put up more stats because you're putting up more points. But that also, those teams, they also basically, it's hard to pass when defenses know you're passing. Like that's not an easy spot to be. You get defensive lines pin their ears back. You get their best effort in the passing game. So there's an aspect of it that you got to be pretty impressive to still get the job done when everyone knows in the building knows you're passing in certain situations. So there's two sides of the coin, but it definitely, either side you choose, it inflates your raw totals. Doesn't inflate your efficiency stats. That can be difficult to maintain. So if you still have that, yes, that's impressive, but it will inflate your raw total. So that is the thing. Yes, I agree. It is. Next one, it comes from Paul Sukek on Twitter. How much do you think Thursday? Jesus, oh my God, days in my brain. How much do you think Tooney is either asked or able to give regarding who is slotted next to him? Basically, can Joe Tooney, left guard for Chicago Bears, say, I want Braxton Jones, or I don't want Braxton Jones?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to this question. I would say that Joe Tooney's probably not the first guy to go and have a closed door meeting, behind his guys' backs. He's one of the most loyal guys. He communicates really well. So if there's an issue that he sees between two guys, I think he'll be forthright in communicating that with his teammates. That's why he's a captain and a leader in that room. But it's going to be obvious to the coaches. And I mean, the issue is nobody's won the job yet in Chicago. The coaches are not helicopter parents. They want to sit back and find out what happens. Who's going to end up with the toy and why, at the end of the day. So look, Tooney is a blue collar dude. He's going to show up and he's going to block his freaking ass off, whoever's playing next to him. And it's on the coach to figure out it's on Roshar to figure it out. It's on Ben Johnson to have input. Maybe Ryan Poles. Maybe they can move off of one of these guys. But at the end of the day, I think Tooney's just going to go handle his business.
Yeah, there's a separation of responsibilities here that I think it's an unspoken that you don't unsolicit. It's not a lot of guys are going to unsolicitedly say, hey, we want X, Y, Z. Now, if a coach brings you into your office is like, it's close. What do you feel more comfortable with? Obviously, I think in a situation like that, yeah. But this just doesn't seem like.
You say both guys are ready. What do you think, coach? And then you find out what they really think because they brought you in there. It's honesty hour. You don't get to talk to coaches wearing this hat very often. Put the onus on them, young players. Ask the coach what needs to change. What am I not doing well enough?
All right, next one comes from Pug W on YouTube. He says, which can you see more likely? The Vikings going 7-10 or 10-7?
You go first, Mike.
I don't want to say it.
Let's call it 8-9.
Yeah. Now, I'll say 10-7 seems more likely just because they're so well coached. Coaching matters so much in the NFL. Coaching matters in close games. Their defense is still going to be very good. They do have a tough schedule, though. So I'll say 10-7 just because, they won 14 games, right, last year. That's still, even 10-7 is a fairly sizable step back.
I'm going to submit 8-9 as
the third option. All right, next up. Sports News Prods on YouTube says, do you think the Giants should trade Kayvon Thibodeau before he loses trade value? I say no. And there's a few reasons why, and I feel very strongly about this. One, first, no. I've said this literally all offseason. Joe Shane, Brian Dable are coaching for the jobs. They're not going to trade away a guy who's going to help them win now. Two, 3 edge rushers is not a bad thing. Most, Philadelphia Eagles use a 3 to 4 man rotation. The best D lines in the NFL rotate those guys to have them all playing 600 to 800 snaps. That's your goal as a DC, is to keep them fresh so that they're as impactful as possible. And 3, he's the only guy with size in that edge room. Look at Abdul Carter. Look at Brian Burns. They are small, skinnier. They are not run defenders. They are not edge sitters. Now, it's not like Kayvon Thibodeau is this like all-world run defender, but he is the best they have in that building at certain aspects of the running game that they just can't do. And that just, if he's there early downs consistently, he's your first, second down guy. That's just keeping Brian Burns, Abdul Carter fresher for when you really need them on third downs. So for all those reasons, and the third reason being $9 million this year, $14 million next year, his cap hits are very palatable by edge rushing standards. You just let him play out his deal at this point. I'm not saying extend him, just saying keep that guy in the building for 2 more years and see what this D-line can do.
More than any position in the National Football League, you want, you want to be spoiled with talent on the defensive line. It's just, if you can rotate fresh bodies in there the entire game, it is like, those old armies that, it doesn't matter. Like, we're just going to keep throwing bodies at it too. That's what these rooms become. And that's what Philadelphia is. That's what they can have in New York. And you never give away a gun that shoots. And this guy, Kayvon Thibodeau, can get it done. And they've got that spoil of talents, that wealth of talent there on the defensive front. Do not give him away.
Yes. And even, 2 years from now, he walks 3rd round compensatory if he really continues to develop. I think is a fairly safe bet, at least a 4th. That's if you don't really sign other free agents, but that's neither here nor there. All right, next one. Film Enterprise YT on YouTube asks, is Nick Scorton going to be okay for the rest of the NFL season? And is this injury going to affect his play for the rest of his career? So Nick Scorton had a collapsed lung in practice. I went to the best source I got here, my father, former orthopedic surgeon, asked him about the severity of a collapsed lung, what it could be. He said, obviously, it could be, not even just career-threatening, could be life-threatening, but you know that pretty early on. He said, given the reports, they didn't have to put in a chest tube, which would be what's needed if they really think that the lung collapsed so badly that his chest cavity filled up with air and they'd have to suck that out. That's when you're in big trouble, that it could be a life-threatening sort of injury, a injury that's more than just that's something that won't maybe heal properly. Given that news, it's very likely to heal, very likely to not have long-term ramifications, but it's at least 3 weeks, more likely 1 to 2 months. He said, just given that given the ramp up there, because you're going to have to not play for like you're gonna have
cardio will go.
His
cardio is going to go to shit.
Your cardio will be in the tank because you can't do anything on the side.
Below
probably
0.
Can't even fly for a few weeks after because the pressure changes. So it's likely going to take him at this point in time into the season, more likely than not. But he'll be back as his rookie year. Not going to have too many long-term ramifications. He would
rest up, Nick Scorton.
Very unfortunate because he looked great in the first preseason game. And they need as much edge help as they can get, as we discussed. Last one here comes from Actual MTG on YouTube. How much will the change in offensive scheme impact the Seahawks season? They may have slightly downgraded QB and wide receiver, but they massively upgraded at OC. Even if Kubiak is average, he will be significantly better than Grubb because he won't make the QB and offensive line play on hard mode every snap. That's a good way to put what he did last year.
I like that.
It was the going 5 out as often as they did, 5 out being getting 5 guys in a route, no chips, no help to your O-line, is very difficult. That's as hard as it gets. You've said it before, hearing the 5-0 call, like hearing that is not fun.
That center goes like this, 5-0, and everybody's just like roll. Excuse my language. Everybody's just like, oh, not again. and then you get those fresh D linemen on the field.
Yes.
And you're like, we are in hell right now.
Yeah. And you just saw the demoralization, not only in the O-line, but in Geno Smith. Like, it became – that's why they got rid of him after 1 year, because he did not adjust from what they did at Washington, when they had one, it was College of Washington, when they had one of the best offensive lines in the country, when they had 3 NFL wide
Roma
receivers.
Dunze, Michael Penix Jr. Come on. I mean,
Yeah. And
you
a
and I
quarterback
could go do that.
who doesn't take sacks, just gets the ball out of his hands like a jugs machine. So he did not adjust. It will be a big upgrade. Now,
I agree.
What they're doing, though, is going to be distinctly different. And I've talked about the mismatch of talent. Last year, he did in New Orleans. It was a vertical-based passing offense. It was a run-heavy offense in terms of run, play action. They do a lot of stretch zone. That's his bread and butter. And that's not really where their talent lies in terms of receiving talent. They have guys who are underneath, intermediate route runners, separators at that level, more possession-focused type of wide receivers. So we'll see how he adjusts. But the O-line is built to run stretch zone. It is going to be a much, much improved running game, given, hopefully that they stay healthy. Zabel is that kind of guy. That's why they coveted him so early. Christian Haynes was that guy at UConn. Charles Cross is that kind of athlete. Abe Lucas as well. They can all do that. So I expect the running game to be a night and day difference. Passing game, like you said, probably takes a bit of a hit with Geno. But my biggest thing and why I'm probably not as high as the Seahawks in terms of making that next step is the rest of the division just got better. Obviously the Rams, if Stafford doesn't play, didn't. But everyone else in that division, Arizona completely transformed their D-line. San Francisco got a lot healthier and brings everyone back. Like everyone that they kind of were able to beat up on last year, I don't see that being the case this year. So that's why I'm just like, they could be a better team, but not take a big step forward, given that the rest of the division is just a lot tougher.
I do like that their scheme lends itself to what their defense is doing. I mean, they're going to be beating the hell out of people defensively. It's going to be complementary. They're going to be in real backyard brawls with a lot of teams. And that's what you're going to have to do with the exodus in talent and the kind of incongruent pieces for down the field type offense. You're going to have to play within the tackle box and beat them up on defense. And Sam Darnold, your job is just, let's not screw this thing up.
Easier said than done for Darnold, sadly.
I got one more question for you.
Joey, what do you got?
And I've been waiting to ask you about this.
Oh, no.
So on 8/18/25, you tweeted at 8:27 a.m., Joe Milton's bazooka was on full display. What did you mean by that?
That one only crossed my mind shortly after I tweeted. I was like, oh, I kind of worded that in a sus manner, as the kids say.
That was great. Phrasing.
Dude, he had Joe Milton, quarterback, Dallas Cowboys. He had 2 of the best throws I've ever seen in the preseason game. Like, he put one, the first throw, if you haven't seen him, go check out Wax. He put one 40 yards, and it looks like on the end zone camera that it like speeds up halfway through. It was one of the biggest lasers you'll ever see.
It's like a Myles Garrett crossface move. It just like, it's a glitch in the film.
It's like, how'd that ball speed up? It was, I mean, on a line, 40 yards downfield on a line. And then the other one, I did the little Pythagorean theorem. He's under pressure, stepping sideways in the pocket, and it went 66 yards.
It's like that Anthony Richardson throw from last year.
Yeah. 66 yards endpoint to endpoint to a dot on the sideline on a go ball. Like, the guy has stupid caliber of arm talent.
A missile.
Now, can he play quarterback remains to be seen. But that's, Joe Milton.
That's bazooka. Less fun to talk about than
his actual bazooka.
Yeah.
We don't.
Well, that was fun. Thank you, Mike.
All right. I was hoping it wasn't going to be Bears related. Thank God.
No.
I was going to have to say some more nice things because the Bears did good. They did, unfortunately. All right. That's our show for today. We might have something very special for you guys on Wednesday. If not, come check us out on CBS Sports Network tomorrow, 1 p.m. We'll be doing a show breaking down what are we doing? Are we doing Super Bowl contenders?
And
Super
I'm
Bowl
with you today
rankings?
on HQ.
We're doing Super Bowl contender rankings today, HQ, 2 p.m. Eastern. Go check it out. Until then, keep pushing.